How good can the Chiefs be? As good as they want to be. At the end of the day, it's about Pat Mahomes and everybody else that comes with him. They can do this again and get back to that Super Bowl and win it. I know they just got pretty rings and all that stuff. We talked about it a little bit last night. I'm sure we'll talk about it tonight as well. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome to RGR Football, the Monday night show. I thank you guys for putting it together because you're the producers tonight. You guys ask the questions and we'll knock out the answers, but we're not really in control. So if you would like to get in the action, hit that super chat, hit some question marks at the beginning of your question, throw them all in the chat, and we're going to get to you guys tonight. Before we get rolling, I want to give a shout out to one of our mods, Aaron. Hasn't been around much. He's got a lot going on in his personal life, but brother, we're here with you, and we hope you're hanging in.
Hope you're all right, man.
Everybody give him a hand in the chat. I would appreciate it. Daniel, tell me what you got cooking tonight.
Well, tonight, I actually didn't cook anything. I ordered some Thai. I took the night off of cooking because yesterday I had a 5-pound slab of beef ribs. And I cannot tell you guys, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you saw the updates. You saw what I was doing. You saw all that stuff. It was one of the best smokes I've ever done. It was 9 hours. It was the longest one I've ever done as well. So it was 9 hours. We had that beautiful smoke ring, the meat underneath the fat, because that's the one thing about beef ribs is you have that top part, which gets the really thick crust and gets a little bit tougher. You have a layer of fat, and then the inside is where the meat actually is what the meat you want. That's where you want. It was juicy, like it was as I was cutting it, it was just like shooting out juice. But the fat content is you don't really know what's going on there, and there was a lot of fat. So that one was a little bit tougher to salvage more meat out of personally. So I'll be looking to get some other ones, but I did that. I did some skillet cornbread. We did some roasted cauliflower. It was a meal. It was delicious.
Dude, that's awesome. I am trying desperately to my photos because I actually did something for the first time.
There we go.
For Father's Day. My wife's super pissed at me because I actually cooked for myself, and she's kind of mad. But so the wife she pulled out all the stops this year. She went and got crab cakes from Maryland flown in.
All right.
And then I did sous-vide beef tenderloin for the first time.
Ooh.
Oh,
okay.
I got to tell you. Okay, I do have it right here. Hold on. Okay. I am going to bring that up, and I'm going to let you guys see because I can't really compete with Dan, but when I do something halfway decent, I have to throw it on the screen because I have an inferiority complex, so that's the way that works. But I want your opinion. I'm
very interested.
It's super cool, and honestly, I did that classic butter-based steak in the pan to finish it. Yeah. But this is how it came out, and I'm pretty dang happy with it.
Let's give Ryan a round of applause. That looks fantastic. Anything that you can cook with that medium rare color, it's perfect. That's how meat should be eaten. Applaud. I applaud you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. My favorite thing is the rare comes all the way out to the edge.
Yeah.
I kissed it for about 60 seconds on each side in a garlic and thyme bath, and that was it. And we were good to go. So, hey, it's worth it. I got the stick as a present for Christmas, and I used it on some pork, but I hadn't used it on beef yet. And
I'm telling you, man, there's something different about doing like bigger cuts of beef like that. Like you did a sous vide. I smoked a tri-tip and reverse seared it. There's something different about that cut or that protein that it's just different. Like it's just different than doing it straight up like everything else. But that looked fantastic.
Oh, it was worth it. So yeah, I hope everybody else enjoyed their Father's Day. I see a lot of folks in here greeting the same to your friends and Chiefs Kingdom fans. So welcome. I hope that you had a good time. Dan and I certainly did. So,
absolutely.
Terry, I do not do that. No. In fact, if I had my way, if it wasn't for my kids, I'd outlaw ketchup in my house because I'd rather just have like a tomato consomme or roast some tomatoes and get it that way. And then there's, the star of the show is here, folks. So Dan and I are just warming you all up for Avery. Hi. It's too bad she's not cute, Dan. It just
I know, right?
Harder to keep up with her. I hope your dad gets in here and I gets to see that on replay. So that would be great.
If you hit
Ding.
this, it makes a loud noise. Okay, it goes all the way through. Okay, that's why we don't play with this.
She'll get it.
One day.
So hope you guys had a great time. And if you guys would like to throw some pictures of your barbecue outings, cooking outings, throw them on our Twitter. You can find Dan here. Let me get this off the screen. You can find Dan at In Harm's Way 19. You can find me at Ryan Tracy NFL. Hit us there and tag us on your foodie picks because I'm starting to get the little mini light out. I'm gonna start taking nicer pics of the food. Say that I did it on purpose. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Now I know you guys didn't come here for food picks. Or anything else.
Nowadays, they might actually be coming here more for food talk.
You never know, right? Thank you, Joy, and congrats to all you dads out there. We're going to jump into your questions. The thing I wanted to hit up just before we get into them was this is really, I feel like, the most indeterminate point in any offseason we've had recently because they just proved that it doesn't matter if you have the star power that you thought you had. It doesn't matter if you have injuries or you have older players that have to play key positions like in the pass rush or something else. They can put it together and adapt. And this 53 is going to be different than the last 53. And it might be a different scenario, but the path is the same to the same spot that they want to go to get back in that big game. And I think they can do it. Do you?
I think we know that they can. And you're looking at teams right now like the Bengals who are the what the Chiefs just did moment. Like they're entering this last season before they extend their star quarterback. Herbert, they haven't gotten to that point yet, but their rosters are about to go into change. And if you look at like the Chargers roster, they are $60 million over the 2024 cap. So this is the last time that they can push their chips in with the roster that they have to really go for it. The Chiefs have done that. They pushed the chips in, and then they already extended Mahomes. They have now figured out how they have to construct their offense and how they have to construct their defense to win with the big money contract quarterback. So yeah, they can do it. Hell yeah, they can do it. We just saw them do it. And they have figured out how to sustain success in an era where right now it's harder to play quarterback than it's ever been because defenses are better. They're playing more diverse schemes, more like hiding things like Spags does. He's always moving guys around. The pre and post snap adjustments are so much different than they've ever been. And Patrick just says, I don't care. Now he is, I do not care. It's not I was having some trouble reading defenses, and now it's like, oh, I see what you did there. And then he exploits it on the next drive. Like, that's what this is. So absolutely they can do it.
You guys aren't that smart. Bam. I'll take it. Well, I think we all agree, and I think any fan would agree that it's a possibility, but I feel really good about where this season is. We recorded here in the last couple of days the Locked On Chiefs version of the post-offseason 53-man roster projection. And the more I got into it, the more I'm like, you know what? It has the possibility to be significantly different than we've seen in the last years, but I'm just as confident as I've ever been. So, hey, I won't count them out for anything.
Nope.
Solid. Steve, thank you for the first question of the night. We appreciate you, and thanks for being a member. If you guys want to be members too, you get into the Discord. You get our rants that aren't safe for work. You get a number of other things, including discounted merch and all the stuff. So you can get into the Discord by taking a look at it at Rogue Nation. You can just look that up on Discord if you like, or you can join the memberships down below and then link your YouTube account to your Discord account, and you're in like Flynn. Bob's your uncle. But Steve is one of those guys and has a question. What are some of the lesser rumors at Chiefs minicamp, good and bad? So I've heard several things uncorroborated. I've heard a couple things corroborated. What do you have?
You're looking at someone who has 0 ears elsewhere. It's just me. It's just me.
Okay.
I don't hear stuff. I don't have connections. Just not the ones that can actually say anything to me.
I'm hearing a couple of things on offense that John Ross looks great and explosive. I think the test is going to come is when he has to cut, when he has to survive contact. But he and Smith-Marset are making a push for the return duties. It gets hard, and I'll give you guys a little preview. Locked On Chiefs drops in about an hour. I'll give you a little hint. I kept 7 wide receivers because I don't know what to do with the return duties or anything else when it comes to the receivers, to tell you the truth. But that's something. The other thing is that I think the special team slots, that the guys that are not in the top 22, I think there's a lot of competition just to play special teams. Dave Tubb's going to have his pick. And right now it seems very much up in the air at the linebacker level with Cochran and Jones. It seems very much up in the air between Najee Johnson and Nick Jones. Oh, it's going to be a Jones themed show, I guess. And it's just there that I think, again, this goes back to being in a perfect spot. You've got plenty of competition at some of these key positions that we've been talking about all offseason. And now they get to walk into camp and make a point. Now, we haven't been live since the actual training camp schedule came out. So the other thing that I will tell you is, by my count, they have 7 extra practices this year because they're starting on the 23rd is the first public practice. QBs and rookies will be in a few days before that. But they're not breaking until the 17th. So they're starting 7 days early, and they're breaking only 1 day earlier. So there's going to be a number. Now, they could put some extra rest days in there. They have a tentative schedule out, but we'll see what actually happens. I'm excited about it, but that goes a long way to go to say, all you rookies that got thrown in the fire last year and all you new rookies that are starting to compete, particularly in the secondary, are going to have that extra rep time to get up to speed. And I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, it's going to give everyone an opportunity to say, look, this is how we work. This is not, This is a hard and fast training camp. Like Andy Reid already runs one of the toughest training camps, one of the more quote unquote old school training camps that a lot of teams do in today's NFL. It's going to give them even more of an experience of what that's going to be like in these hot Missouri, these muggy Missouri training camp summers. So I'm excited. I can't believe that it's next month. Like right now it's June 19th already. We just did the draft, it feels like, and now we're a month away from training camp. So this whole process that we've waited this long. Training camp is only the beginning. Preseason will be here before we know it, and then it's regular season, y'all.
I'm here for it. And you cannot say it any better about how fast this has flown from this Super Bowl to now.
Right?
Holy cow. Like, it's crazy. Lee, thank you for your question and your membership as always. How was the new safety Edwards looked in OTAs, and how has he been used? He has been superficially only a third safety as far as I understand it. It is Reid and Cook. They are the two. And then it's supplements. From what I understand in OTAs, Edwards and Chamari Connor split a lot of the reps, with Deion Bush getting about 10% on defense. Deion's a special teams player. I think we all know that. The question is, were they forcing reps to Connor in OTAs because that's the key learning time? What happens when they hit camp? That's going to be the question there. I think Edwards probably ends up being the guy that starts the season as the third safety in the dime sets in particular. And as that comes on, especially as Tranquil gets up to speed, I think you're going to find them leaning, if not away from, out of the traditional 3 safety set and more towards a Tranquil set. But then you can bring in Connor if you want to get some pressure, because that's probably his best attribute coming out of college.
As a rookie, I agree.
Now. Okay. So do you see anything different with that group? Do you think Deion's ahead of either of them?
No, I think that he's a break glass in case of emergency. We know he can do that. He's just not the most talented guy in the world, and that's fine. But as one of your last lines of defenses, he's a good player to have out there. He knows the playbook. He understands what he's supposed to do. He just doesn't have that upside that you're going to see with a possible Edwards or Chamari Connor. So these guys are going to rotate in. They're going to be working in a bunch. I even think you could see all 4 of them on the field at some points next season. But that's going to be working in him a little bit of slot, a little bit of pseudo linebacker. We talk about, L'Jarius Sneed, even Trent McDuffie at times in the postseason last year were playing this pseudo linebacker role where you're the kind of the slot, but you're kind of linebacker. You're kind of sitting in this no man's land area. I think Chamari Connor can roam that as well.
So it's all, what can you do for us? And I like the approach that they're taking. Jeremy, thank you. Another member question. Probably too early to ask this, but which player might not make the 53 that could be at risk for another team taking? Whew, that's pretty good. I think Prince Tagovailoa's on the edge. With Wanya Morris getting first-team reps with Donovan Smith out, again, that could be exploratory, but the volume of them, as I understand, is pretty significant, which tells me that they might think that Wanya is ahead of Prince. And this is where the rubber hits the road. Could they keep 10? I don't think so. Could they keep 9 O-linemen? Possibly. Could they keep 8? They might have to go down that low. And Kennard and Prince Tagovailoa are 8 and 9 on my book.
All right. Man, I know people aren't going to like it, but the simple fact of the matter is that there's still no guarantee that Justin Ross makes this roster. But they've been pumping him up. They have been showing him in some of Skyy Moore's video. They have been showing some of the highlights. And again, if he were to not make this roster, because again, I think trust and knowing your role is a huge part of being a wide receiver in this offense. Go back to the Tyreek Hill era. Demarcus Robinson had his moments, but still was not a very trustworthy player in terms of where he was supposed to be on the field. It was more of an outside of the pocket kind of guy who read Mahomes. Byron Pringle, kind of the same. There wasn't any of these wide receivers that Patrick Mahomes had a ton of trust in. McCole Hardman didn't have that a lot before last year. I think he was much better in that regard last year. But going forward, that's going to play a huge role in how wide receivers make this team be on the roster. The fact that Richie James was such a huge third down chain mover for the Giants plays a big role in his getting on this roster, not just as a special teams guy because he has that return ability, but being able to get on the field in some key situations. You might see him on the field over some of the younger players in key moments, like gotta have it moments, because he has this innate understanding of how to get open on third down. It's different, and that's something that you're gonna have to look for.
Judging by what I heard coming out of OTAs, I have Richie James the number 4 receiver on this roster right now.
Woo! I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that's a good thing because it allows Justin Watson to play his role to the utmost of his ability. It allows Rashee Rice to come along at his pace, and I think that's a good thing overall. It's just going to be weird to be seeing 17 do something a little bit different, but in a good way, I think. So, get
you're
used
to
to
go from seeing this guy that's just speed demon, lightning in a bottle to someone who's, hey, he's in the right spot. He's making a catch. And it's first down.
I think all those guys, though, Jeremy, to answer your question, those guys could be up for grabs if you were to try to sneak them onto the practice squad. I don't think anybody's coming for Kennard. I think Winaga will go. I think Ross will go. So we'll see. Did you see the report that Albert Breer, thank you, Terry. I assume that's Albert Breer, about the Chiefs and Chris Jones having an extension ready now until camp. Yeah, somewhere in that gap. I did see that, and I do think that's real. The only thing that could have a hiccup, I kind of envision this thing where he comes into camp the day before, signs it, and goes right out to practice. Sometimes that doesn't happen, schedules, whatever. It could be a couple days into camp, possibly. For Chris Jones, if he misses the first few days of camp, I ain't worried about it at all. And I'm sure the team isn't either. So we could see that. That wouldn't give you any pause, would it?
No, like I said, we've been here, we've done that. Chris does not seem worried in the slightest. I know he's posting cryptic Instagram posts and stuff like that, but this is just part of the ball game at this point for him. He's like, this is expected of me. If I don't show a little bit of hesitation or like time's ticking, some people can be like, well, this is not a big deal at all. They're going to sign him like tomorrow. He's got to add a little bit of, just sprinkle a little bit of uncertainty on the situation.
Keep everybody interested. I too would have thought that he would show up for the rings ceremony, but
he said he was
sick. Yeah, okay, it works. Whatever. So Jackson, before camp or right at the beginning of camp is our thought. I do carry on that. Travis, thank you for your support, pal. We appreciate you. I'm going to come back and find a question, or if you have any other comments, pal. But thank you. Corbin, thoughts on the new one-day rule to trim down from 90 to 53, good or bad? I think it's tough, man. And I think you might see some teams just ignore that and let some guys go ahead of time anyway. Because it's difficult because once it starts, like it's going to be that fury that comes when the 7th round hits in the draft and everybody's trying to sign undrafted free agents and you're trying to find them and get them on the phone and their agents. Same thing's going to happen on cutdown day if everybody's letting go of that many players at once. So I think there will be a trickle. But I'll tell you the other toll. You tell me how important you think this is, because I think the other toll comes in on the coaches and having to cut all those guys all at once.
Like you're going through OTAs, you're going through training camps, you're going through all of this stuff, getting to know these guys, you're forming relationships with them. And as tough as it is, we've all seen the movies. Like it reminds me of it when we're watching the movie Invincible with Mark Wahlberg from the Philadelphia Eagles, when he's playing Vince Papali. Like you get to see some of these moments on the movie screens. It's even more intimate. It's more emotional, especially with Hard Knocks right now. We get intimate details into how this goes. And so imagine having to do that to 40 plus players and all the coaches have to do it on the same day. You have to. That's a tough thing to ask of anybody, and making coaches do it in one day, all of them on the same day. It's a tough thing to do. So I agree with you. I think there'll probably be some medical things that happen where he's not going to be able to continue with us for now, but stuff like that.
I'll say this too. It's Jags on Hard Knocks this year, right?
I don't think it's been determined yet.
Oh, I thought it had been announced. Okay. But I know a lot of people are like, hey, we'd like to see the Reid era of – we got to see Herm when the Chiefs were on Hard Knocks, and I know some people want to see that again. I will say this. I don't think that's ever going to happen because I don't think Andy wants cameras in there. Just letting Stone Street do his thing, I think that's probably way more than they want in the first place. But I will say this. There would be some things gained from that, but they might be competitive advantage too. So enjoy what we see from another team. I don't know who it'll be if it's not the Jags, so we'll find out.
Yeah.
Christo, thank you. Fun question, including yourself. Who's your starting 5 Chiefs players for a basketball game, past or present? Past or present?
Oh man, that's a tough question, man.
Neil Smith, Tano Passanio, X Factor, Jamal Charles, and Colin Saunders.
Okay. I was about to say, you wanted to go a little sleeker. Like I thought just about getting about all the biggest possible dudes, and just putting them on the field, like Chris Jones. Chris Jones is going to play, and obviously Colin Saunders be the point guard. I don't think we could say it enough. Tony Gonzalez for me because he did play college basketball. He was legitimate college. Demetrius Harris, also a previous basketball player that converted to tight end. Like, we're just going to make a legitimate basketball team out of Chiefs players.
This is why you're in charge of the crazy questions, because I forget all that crap. Thanks, Christo. That was a fun one. Des, hope you're doing well. Thanks for the support, pal. How many realistically is the Dynasty set up to stay in place before an actual rebuild is needed? That's a great question. And I think we don't know the answer until this first restructure extension for Mahomes, which I originally thought the spot was like in 27, before the 2027 season. Now I think they might have to move that up. So, like, what does that structure look like going forward, tied with Kelsey's? Because I think Chris Jones is still at the top of his game. My question is going to be, who runs out of juice first, Travis Kelce or Chris Jones? And that's going to determine where all the slotting of the salary cap comes in, because I think it's going to be $300 million in the next 5 years.
Yeah, it's going to start to explode. Like that's why for me, as long as Patrick Mahomes is on the roster, that's where the Dynasty. But that's where it is. Like until he stops playing football or just isn't good anymore. I don't know when that's going to be. If I don't know, 20 years from now, I don't know. With the way offensive line and quarterback play is going, just continuously invest in the offensive line. Maybe plays till he's 50. I don't know. Who knows with the technology nowadays? So as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing at the highest level, I don't think that their dynasty window is closing anytime soon. Okay,
cool. That's kind of how I see it as well. So we are together on that. Thanks, Des. Appreciate you as always. I know you got a couple more in here. We're coming to them. Jackson, hope you're good. How much better do you think this year's O-line will be? That's a good question. It was 92 combined pressures from Orlando and Andrew Wiley. I think they can get that down to 60, even if Donovan is not 100% recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's conversion rate is always conversion rate. That's the most volatile stat in football, combined with completion percentage. So do they give up more sacks? I don't think so either, especially if they can cut the pressures down by a third. I think they're going to be in good shape, and they'll cut those sacks down by 15%.
Yeah, for me, it's more about the run game. I think the pass protection, pass game is going to be fine. How are they going to change the way that they run the ball? They ran more gap and more power last year than they have in years. And, the reason that they did that is pretty much because of Orlando Brown. And they have 3 guys on the interior they can do whatever they want. They could do whatever they wanted to with those guys, and they could run any different run scheme that they ever wanted to, imaginably do. I mean, these guys can do whatever they want. So you have more of a zone offensive line now. And Juwan Taylor is not a good run blocker. He's just not. So that's where you're going to have to figure out is this going to be back to what Andy Reid's going to do with the zone? Just complete zone, outside zone. That's what they should do. Just do run outside zone. That's exactly what it is, especially because you have kind of a one-cut power downhill runner, in Isaiah Pacheco. Get him in a gap. Make it easy on him. Don't make him have to read it out. Make it easy on him. Get these cutback lanes and huge cutback lanes and let him work on outside zone. That's what they should do, and that will help the offensive line mesh. If we're just sitting here doing inside zone and more gap and like single back power, you're going to have some problems, I think.
Yeah, keep it simple. I'm with you. Jonathan, I know we talked a bunch about the food before. Mine was a beef tenderloin. Dan's was a tri-tip, yes?
No, I did a beef rib.
Oh, the rib,
nice big old beef ribs.
Yeah. And Chris Jones holding out. I don't even call it a holdout. He missed mandatory minicamp. That's not atypical for anybody who's looking for an extension. If he gets to camp and he says, hey, I'm in town, but I refuse to sign whatever offer's on the table, then that's a holdout. And then I'll start to get concerned. I honestly don't see that happening, though, Jonathan. So thank you. Appreciate your thoughts. But I think we're safe. We're going to be okay. Quinn, who would you say is in for more of a sophomore slump, Josh Williams or Jalen Watson? Funny that we were just talking about this pair before we hit the air, and I think we're in lockstep. Dan, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to wait for my video that's going to come out on Wednesday to give my full thoughts on the idea. But yes, that will be my Wednesday video. I'm giving you guys what you want because I've had multiple people ask me for a Williams and Watson review. So that's what I've done. I've watched like 7 games from last season after the bye. I try to do everything that I can for my videos after the bye because before they're trying a bunch of different stuff and just this will be easier so you guys can see what it is. But they played very well for 4th and 7th round picks, man. The day 3 duo is what I'm calling them, and that's what it's going to be for the Chiefs going forward as your 3-4 cornerbacks. So I'm pretty excited.
I am too. I got to tell you, and I'm just looking for the fire that comes in the nickel to let L'Jarius go attack something. I'm pumped. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you again, Des. Appreciate you. What does Pat's extension look like, and will they just add years to his current deal, or what should we expect? I think they will add years to the deal. I don't think it'll be a complete rip-up because then you get into dead money and that kind of stuff. But I think in the end, it will be something like 4 years of like under $10 million base salaries and all these giant roster bonuses that work really well in the Chiefs' favor and keep them flexible. And I think he's going to be the first $60 million quarterback when it's all done. Yeah. That's where I see it. We're about 2 years out from that is my guess. Maybe 3. I hope. The longer, the better for me, just because I got to restart everything if he gets a new contract. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I think we could see him get an extension for another 400 or another $500 million. But my guess is Patrick will allow them to stack it in a way that keeps them flexible and keep him with the weapons and the team around him. He's talked about that a lot this offseason, and I believe it for one. Do you get the gist that too?
He knows what this is all about. He watched Tom Brady stack rings. He understands what it means to make money off the books that's not from the Chiefs. He is going to make $1 billion+
Who, this guy?
This guy right here is going to make $1 billion+ in endorsements and things that he invests in. Like, he does not have to worry about the Chiefs paying him the most the NFL has ever seen. He doesn't have to worry about it, and he knows it. He talks about it all the time. That's how you know he's built differently and that he knows how the Chiefs are going to be able to extend their dynasty by being able to pay him a good amount, but not the most the NFL has ever seen. It might look like that in the front. And obviously, quarterbacks past him that are coming up will also get paid more than he does too. But he knows what he's doing. I'm not worried about this.
You trigger me when you say that because if it looks like one thing in the front, then the party's in the back, right? Is that where you're going?
I mean, you never know. You don't know where the party is. I just know that wherever Patrick Mahomes goes, there's going to be a party.
I'm with you there. Hey, folks, if you would hit the like, we would appreciate it. I know it's the off season, but it still makes YouTube go around. So we would appreciate you very much. Thank you, Iron Price, for reminding me. I always forget that part. Thank you, Des, for your last super chat. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it.
Razgriz, hope you're doing well. Do we expect Cordell Powell to make the practice squad? Is there a chance, or is there a chance that Justin Ross, Smith Marset, and John Ross sneak on that way? That's a great question.
So I still think that Powell is going to make the practice squad because of how well he knows the offense. That's pretty much why. And again, trust is something that everyone has to earn. And as much for John Ross and Smith Marset bring something different, electric ability, athletic ability, more so than Powell. I think that understanding the practice, the playbook is more important in those facets. But I think all four of them could be on the practice squad pretty easily, honestly.
That's where I was going. They like to keep a lot of wide receivers around on the practice squad, so I could easily see all four of them.
Yeah.
Gary, hope you're well. Everybody give Gary a hand. He's stepped up as one of our moderators lately. OG Gary, appreciate you. Are the Chiefs satisfied with the team, or will they sign a free agent? I think they want to sign a free agent. Do they have to? No. They got Rice under contract. I know they don't have much cap space. It's not 177, but it's pretty low. So the extension for Chris Jones is for a little operating room and to be able to do something. And I really do think that they will. It's not past me that Dalvin Cook's not in a new home yet, and neither is D-Hop. So somebody's keeping them strung along until somebody can make some cap space, whether it's in Buffalo or here. I think they're the leading contenders.
Yeah, I have a big feeling that Dalvin Cook's going to be in Kansas City when it's all said and done. I know that people have talked about Miami. They just drafted Devin Achane. Dude's faster than Dalvin Cook is. There's no point in them bringing in Dalvin Cook at this point. They have Raheem Mostert. They have Jeff Wilson Jr., the veteran guys there already, and Devin Achane, who is legitimately track fast speed. That's how fast he gets going. I feel like when it's all said and done, the Chiefs are going to have Dalvin Cook as their number one running back on this roster, because if he's in Kansas City, I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, Dalvin Cook's the number one, unquestioned in my opinion.
See, I would think because of the injury history, they'd want to limit his snaps a little bit. Just let Pacheco take the rock and have more of the carries. Maybe that's not more snaps, but maybe more carries.
I think Dalvin will have more carries. Like you said, I think that he'll, when I say number one, I just mean like in terms of the guy who ends up getting the most touches. Because we know that everyone's going to be a part of this rotation in the running back backfield. Yeah. And it'll be great for all four of the injury-prone running backs that the Chiefs have. Right? If they were to bring in Dalvin Cook, they all be doing a good job of rotating.
Oh, thank you, Gary, and welcome back, Patrick. Is RJR planning on getting together for camp? If so, what day or days by chance? It's going to be a tight one for me this year. The schedule is such that the week that I usually go, they only have 2 practices, and it's going to be really hard for me to get in and out. I'm trying to find another way to get to camp this year because of school and all that kind of stuff with my kids. But, Dan, are you planning on going, and do you have an idea when you want to?
I want to go. It's more of a if I'm going to be able to kind of thing. My wife's going TDY again this summer in August, so I'll be on my own again trying to figure out Avery's school situation. So it's going to be a little tougher for me this year than it was last year. But Brian and I will keep and Gary we'll try. We'll see what we can do. I unfortunately can't guarantee I'll be there this year.
I will guarantee you this. If I do make it to town, I will kind of do what I did last time for the draft, where I'll let everybody know where I'm going to hang out one night, maybe 2 nights, and we can all get together. I don't like to do anything formal where people have to buy tickets and all that kind of stuff. That seems a little bit over the top. Yeah. We're all just trying to get together. So shout out to Casey Beer Co. They treated us great last time. So may look at doing that again. If you guys aren't into drinking beer, we can do something else too. But it always ends up with me with a cold one in my hand. So sorry. Is what it is.
We are not so very different, my friend.
No, we're not. Des, thank you again. You're on fire tonight, buddy. Do you think a vet pass rusher still gets signed? My gut says yes. Yeah. I think that's part of the equation with the Jones extension.
They're too young. They're too young on defense. Like, they still need some guys in there that can help the younger players out. And yeah, Mike Dana and Charles Omenihu are the quote-unquote veterans in there. They're still younger guys. Like, they're 27 and under. They're not exactly the 30-plus-year-olds. I do think Dunlap might end up back in Kansas City. He was he was really good last year in his role as a rotational pass rusher and, secondary run stopper guy. Like, he played pivotal snaps last year. I think that's something that also they probably communicated with him. He doesn't have to go through the offseason program either. He's just waiting for this all to get going. So it wouldn't shock me to see him back in Kansas City.
He looked really, really happy and comfortable at the ring thing the other night.
Right.
No sleeves or nothing.
Have an idea. Have an idea of what his off season is going to end up looking like when it's all said and done.
If I had to put money on it, Carlos Dunlap will be a Chief about 3 days before camp breaks, and he's going to be happy as hell. I mean, honestly, all they needed a big brother for all the young guys that they've made investments in, and they need a mentor to help George continue, but also for Felix. And I do think that's important. So, like, he's the perfect guy. I think they were hoping for Frank to do that, but Frank got a little antsy. And when you get thrown some money at you, I can understand. But I do expect that is probably in the plan as of right now.
Absolutely.
So, welcome back, Carlos. How many wide receivers will the Chiefs carry this season? Well, Chad, I don't want to give it away, but if you go watch Locked On Chiefs, you'll see I said 7. And you're with me. Okay, cool. I like that. We're going to be doing our roster projections. Don't worry. We'll probably do 2 roster projections on these live streams as camp gets going, and then as we get close to cut downs, we're going to see what changes. I'm really interested to track that.
Me too.
So hang with us, Chad. And if you guys are new to us and you don't know why we're talking about all this stuff, it's because that's what we do every week. So please like, sub, hit that bell. Become one of us. If you get in the memberships, you get into the Discord, and that's where all the spicy stuff happens. So you might want to check that out. Any fears of a Super Bowl hangover, Flapjack? Honestly, I just don't. Like, I almost feel like without the quarterback having to rehab, without all this question of, oh, you lost your star receiver, like without all that, it feels like it's calmer. It feels more like it's more business-like. I feel like they're like revving up to speed easier this year.
They've been there, done that. They won the Super Bowl and then went back to it. There wasn't a Super Bowl hangover in that season. So as much as I think we want to project, a lot of teams, they do have that struggle where they get to that mountaintop and then they're just like, they don't refind it, like the Packers, the early season Packers, when they won in 2010. And they never got back to that moment. They kept falling short in the postseason. So that doesn't feel like Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't. And we've already seen it's different. He's different. They literally, I want to stress this as hard as I possibly can. Patrick Mahomes was rehabbing and preparing 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, after they won the Super Bowl. We already saw him with Bobby getting ready for the season. That is what this means to him. He's built different. He's built like Tom Brady, guys. He is built like Tom Brady mentally. That's what you have to. We all talked about how Tom Brady was so annoying for years and years and years because he is built different mentally. Just was. Patrick is built the exact same way. So he is not going to slow up until he physically can't do it anymore. It's not in the cards for him.
Well, and honestly, it reminds me of the era that I became a Chiefs fan, and I think a lot of folks probably in the stream did. When it was Marty's era, and they were always a playoff team. They were always within striking distance of getting into the postseason game. And now I think it's the same thing. And Patrick recognizes that, and his dad's experience and knowing all the pros that he knows in different sports. If you get to that level, it's better to do everything you can to maintain that than it is to go rebuild and start all the way over, right? It feels like he's pulling out all the stops, like personally calling dudes and like looking into what's going on. I know he's got a million other things going, but it feels like he recognizes that and he's going to be able to maintain that. Just my personal
thought. You guys how happy I am to see a quarterback built the same way as Tom Brady mentally, but in Kansas City. Like we ragged on the Patriots for years, hated the Patriots for years. Everyone hates the Chiefs now. They hate them. And guess what?
Good with that.
I'm good with that too. I was about to say, I'm good with that.
Thank you, Flapjack. Good question. And KL, thank you as always, friend.
Appreciate it.
Does a player being put on IR in 2022 still have to be elevated in 2023, or does IR expire after the season? It's all redesignated when you start camp, the first set, and then they'll do an evaluation. So like the reason that Ross didn't get to go in the first phase of OTAs was because of the IR. They reevaluated, and the rules are much more lax in the off season. So if you were on IR last year and you're able and you're cleared, you're good to go. We don't get those announcements and we don't get the press releases on it. Everybody kind of starts over between the league year and the first day of camp. So we should get a fairly big update medically in the first couple of days of camp after the conditioning test, and whatever is outstanding, we should know. It's one of the few things Burkhalter still does in terms of being in front of the media. We should get an update from him. Okay, I hope you have a good Father's Day.
Thanks for reaching out to me on Twitter about this. I'm sorry I couldn't answer it, but appreciate you coming back on here and asking again, because I know Ryan knows more about this stuff than I do.
That's awesome, though. I like it. You guys, In Harm's Way 19, you can find him on Twitter. Hope you had a good Father's Day too.
I'm much more active than Ryan, so if you guys are trying to get something done on Twitter, please DM me or tag me. But by the way, guys, I got some stuff that's going to be going up in the office quite soon. Here is one of those pieces from this season. RJ, one of our great followers, great people. If you guys do get some of his artwork, this stuff is fantastic, and this is going to be going up in my office this week. So just excited.
I'm jealous. If I ever get to actually rebuild my studio in this house, I'm going to have some stuff behind me too, because I still have that giant metallic Super Bowl, the first one that I had to take down because I got metal studs behind me and I can't hang stuff as easily.
You mean this?
Oh yeah. I mean that one.
Stuff from the first one.
Okay. That's pretty good timing, dude. That's pretty dang good. Daryl, thanks for your super chat, pal. Okay, Dan, this is just you and me talking. How good is Clyde going to be this year?
All right, Daryl. I appreciate you asking me, because I know there are very few believers out there. I know it, and I'm one of them. So Clyde is a specific type of player. If they use him the exact way they used him last year, he's going to score 10-plus touchdowns this year if he stays healthy. 10-plus, easy. Oof. And he won't even break a sweat, because he had, 6 or 7 in the first 5 games? He was scoring touchdowns left and right. So it's about efficiency. He's got to stay healthy first and foremost. And they have to continue to use him as a receiver. The fact that he was a break glass in case of emergency option to the Super Bowl at wide receiver tells me hopefully they've understood that he is a better receiver, a better receiving option than he is pounding between the tackles. Just not his game in the NFL. As a receiver, he can absolutely do that. So efficiency. That's what it's going to be for him. You don't need to give him a ton of touches. He needs to be the 2 or the 3-ish in terms of rotational guy. He's not the guy. Isaiah can shoulder that load. Everything else, Clyde can do.
I know it sounds weird. They should just give him the Sproles role, because
I agree.
McKinnon's been better as a primary backup than just a third down guy. Let Clyde be the third down guy. That crazy play that they've been playing all summer, that little flip against the Bucs that went for the touchdown. Yeah, it was Clyde that caught that.
It was Clyde, and it wasn't just I'm right here catch. It was I catch you over my shoulder kind of thing. Like, it was a good catch. Everyone dogs on him because he got hit in the helmet by a pass. Happens to a lot of people. Go back to the Super Bowl where balls were bouncing off of everybody's faces, okay? And they couldn't catch anything. It does happen, okay? These guys aren't perfect.
Well, and I'll tell you this too. Clyde's got a lot to play for. He is effectively a free agent after this season if he doesn't get traded. So either way, he needs to ball out for himself, and I think that's the key motivational factor.
It brings it all back to Therese Paylor, as everything does. The contract year is undefeated.
I have to go back. I bet I have some of my old recordings. I'll bet you I have him saying it. I'm going to have to pull that.
Man, I miss that man. I
do too. I tell you what. Steve, and thank you, Daryl. Appreciate you. Do we underestimate how lucky we are to have a kicker like Bucker? That's a fair statement, but I wouldn't say underestimate, because he does come with the frustrations of the extra point thing. That's a legit gripe, so there's pluses and minuses. But I'm saying, so it's not necessarily underestimation. There is an execution problem at times.
I get it. I understand. People don't like that he misses extra points. I get it. Last year, we can attribute, in my opinion, a lot of his missed field goal stuff on the injury. He
Agreed.
was legitimately injured, and you could tell it was having a problem with his timing and his ability to kick through because it's a plant foot. It's not easy to run up there and plant on something you don't feel comfortable in. But in terms of everything else, clutchness, he has it just about in spades. He's one of the clutchest kickers in football. And that's something I think does kind of come underappreciated to an extent because everyone's so frustrated with some of the other hiccups and the extra points most specifically.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's all rolled together at the end. But
yeah, I agree. I get you.
It's a good question, Steven. And Scott, thank you. I don't think Bell and Fortson are locks. I like Bell, but he's old. Fortson looks good in preseasons, but hasn't done anything. What are the chances that Bushman or Blanton take these spots or their spot? Fortson's a lock. I'll tell you this right now, because Noah doesn't have the body to try to replicate Kelce's snaps. But Fortson's done pretty good in the reg season when he isn't injured, and that's the big thing. Is he's just got to stay. From what I understand, Bushman had a really good OTA session at mandatory minicamp and opened some eyes. I'm hopeful for him, but Blake Bell is Andy Reid's ride or die. I'm pretty sure.
I can't. I'm sorry. I think Noah Gray can perform Blake Bell's role pretty close. I'm done. Give me Matt Bushman as the 4 tight end. I'm done with Bell Dozer. Okay. I understand. I'm appreciative of what he's done in the past. I'm done.
Okay. It only matters about Andy, and I think we'll find out.
I know. It's frustrating sometimes, but I get it. He's won rings and stuff.
Yeah, there's that. Steven, appreciate you again. Are you disappointed to see Juju leave? I kind of am. Like, I wanted to see what he could do when he was healthy. I thought a step forward would be good for him too, but it's about the dollars, and for him, he had to do what he had to do. I don't know playing with Mac Jones is any kind of thing that makes me feel good about the rest of your career, but whatever.
I mean, it's also he's still dealing with that nagging knee injury right now. He talked about it. So the Chiefs were like, look, you want to get paid, relatively well, but you don't want to still have us incentivize that because you're still hurt. Like, that's where this comes down to. The Chiefs were not comfortable guaranteeing him more money if he's going to miss more games. And at the end of the day, like, I'm disappointed because he almost had 1,000 yards in Kansas City. I think that kind of just gets brushed under the rug because he was hurt. And outside of Kansas City, most people just ignore the fact that he nearly had 1,000 yards and it was the leading receiver in Kansas City. So from that standpoint, it's upsetting, but I completely understand where the Chiefs are coming from. Like, dude, you gotta figure your injury stuff out and let us supplement that with non-guarantees. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, it's a significant risk factor. You just got to be careful. Iron Price, that's interesting. How much of an impact does Nagy have on this offense this year? That's a really interesting one, because I think you could go back and see his influence before he left, but that was a different time with a different criteria and not the established QB1 of this entire league. I think we might see the rails come off, and it might be a little bit more crazy YOLO type stuff.
Matt Nagy has an entire playbook of things that he never got to use.
Right?
Ever.
Right?
He was the offensive coordinator when Patrick was a rookie. And then he was like, I've got Mitch Trubisky, and I have to have an RPO offense. That's
bro.
And he's had all of this probably stuff in his bag. And he's like, I can't use any of it. Oh, watch it come out this year, guys. Watch a whole playbook just get lapped on the NFL and say, hey, guess what? I'm back.
Welcome. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for the question, Iron Price.
Appreciate it, Iron Price.
Kirk, welcome back. Which level of the defense has the most to prove this year? I'll let you go first because I think my answer is a little out there.
It's the linebackers. It is the linebacker situation. And because we know kind of what Nick Bolton does well. He's an exceptionally good downhill tackling, run stuffing linebacker. Willie Gay is okay. He's been good. He's shown some flashes of instinct, some flashes of speed, some flashes of coverage ability, but he's not really put it together in a full game where you can say that's the guy that we want right there. He's done it in like separate games. And now you have Leo Chanel, a Sam linebacker. But what's he doing? You now add Drew Tranquil. You're hoping there's a lot in flux at the linebacker situation. So the defense, if they want to have this transcendent year where they took steps down the stretch last year, that look, we can be a good defense. In today's NFL, I promise you, the linebacker core is one of the most important aspects of coverage. Tight ends and running backs are exploiting linebackers unlike we have ever seen. And because the talent gap between tight ends and running backs from a route running perspective and the linebackers that are covering them, unless you're Fred Warner or the top level linebackers, it's such a big gap now. It's different. So they have to be much better than they have been in past if they want to continue to have a transcendent defensive performance.
I really want Willie to put it all together.
I do too.
I got this question on radio last week, and no one is a bigger Willie fan than me in terms of his athleticism. You guys remember that from his draft year. But if he plays well enough, just like you said, athletic linebackers are in demand.
Yes.
And I don't know that he put it together enough. Sneaky trade consideration might be Willie Gay.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me because, again, this is his last year, right? Last year of his contract is this year. And if you're not going to extend him, he's not worth much to you.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be really bummed if that's the way it goes down.
Me too. Because, again, I do like him. I know that people say he's done more than flashed, but really he hasn't. Like, when it comes down to dollars and cents, he has not put together a full game at all.
He hasn't been dominant guy yet. Yeah. So take the next step, Willie. I hope so. I don't even want to think about that anymore. I'm sorry to bring it down, folks.
Sorry, guys.
Kirk,
sorry.
Great question. I'm sorry I screwed it up. Lego. Well, thoughts on the backup quarterback, Blaine Gabbert? I think he's a steady hand. He's a younger, healthier Chad Henne. I think it's exactly what Andy wants.
They also, I'm pretty sure they played on the same team before. They did. They were both in Jacksonville. This is not surprising at all. They're like the same guy at this point.
Royce, thank you. What kind of earbuds you got on? I have these. My wife got me a present for Christmas. It's the little Beats Pros. You can work out in them and they like hook into your earlobes. It's crazy. But they work really well and they connect to the laptop. So it's better than having the big headphones on. Thanks for noticing there, Red. You can get them on Amazon.
I've got AirPods. You guys can't tell. They're the white ones and AirPod Pros. So they're simple. They're easy. They're good. I love them.
Which is interesting because I'm using Beats on a Mac laptop and you're using AirPods on a Windows laptop.
That is, it's my computer, but yes, that's funny. That's very funny.
Adrian, are you guys planning on attending games this year? I definitely am. Probably not till later in the fall. What about you, Dan?
We're trying to work it around when my wife's going to be gone. So we're thinking more about like the Chicago game. It's a little earlier in the season, but we got to figure out when exactly she'll be gone and when she'll be back before we can nail any of that down.
Gotcha. We will definitely let you know, Adrian. Not a problem. There'll be a tailgate involved, I'm sure. So, Red, what's the thought on the cooking part of the other channel? Yeah, we got to adapt a little bit. If you guys haven't yet, when you're done here or in another window, go type in RGR Craft. It's about brewing beer and whiskey and wine. Like it's my other interests, right? But we're going to take it. It's called RGR Craft. You can just search that and go sub and we'll start bringing stuff over there because we're going to expand it to food as well. And obviously we're pretty good at talking food, I think.
I think so. I mean, I think we did it. We've done a couple of episodes now on here to begin a couple questions. I think that we have enough culinary knowledge and expertise to have some things to do on that channel that involve food. So I'm excited because I love food. I love making food, and I do think that it's something we can all also partake in because who doesn't love food, y'all? Who doesn't love food?
Especially in Kansas City. Will it be barbecue? There'll be a good bit of it, but there'll be other things too. So
I'm actually going to make a smoked peach cobbler. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make one this week, I think.
I want to hear how that goes because I'm not a big peach fan, but I do love smoke.
We're gonna do some bourbon in it too because peaches and bourbon just go together.
Now you got 2 out of my 3. Good Lord. Thanks, Red, and thank you, Gary. If you guys would hit the like button for us, we appreciate it. We're getting down to the end here, and then we're going to cut it for some family time. Scott Crosser, if we keep 7, do they cut Fortson? No, I don't see Fortson going anywhere. The question will be, can he stay healthy enough to make
exactly?
But he does look good, I got to say. And what I saw of him down with Mahomes in Texas looked pretty good too. What I'm theorizing now is maybe they don't have the depth at offensive line. Maybe that's where they have to skimp a little bit if they have to go 7. We're going to find out. I'm a little concerned about where, but Razgriz, where do you guys think that Nick Jones will play, or where do you think Nick Jones will play at a lot this year? It sounds like he's been turning heads in mandatory minicamp. I think he's going to play a ton of special teams. I'll tell you that. And I think he and Najee Johnson are going to be competing to be a nickel. And the thing that I like about that is it allows you to move L'Jarius out of there and put him on the bigger, taller guys with Watson as the other side and McDuffie. There are teams that are going to go 4 wides, 5 wide empty formations this year just to try to get to the depth because now the Chiefs have L'Jarius and McDuffie, but they've seen Watson do it. And I think there might be a little bit more question about Josh Williams, but the depth here is going to cause them to have to go to more empty sets, and that's going to give the Chiefs the advantage, especially when you bring in somebody like Nick Jones or Chamari Connor who can blitz off the edge. That's going to be a lot of fun. But I do think he will be a nickel only, but I think his core snaps will come on special teams. I think Dan will agree. Avery, maybe not so much, but that's okay.
Yes.
Nick?
Yes. Black corner. Sorry, guys. Sometimes.
No worries.
Sometimes she just.
Right? We're going to wrap it up here before we get too deep into that. Nick, thank you for yours. What would be a good to great season for Skyy this year? Personally, I say 700-800 yards and 5+ touchdowns. I want 8-8 myself.
I'd like to see that. I don't think it's realistic. I think 8 and 5 or 6, 7 and 750. I'm pretty happy with that.
I'm with you. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate your support as always, pal. And Dez, thank you again. Should we expect more INTs from this defense? My thought is yes, especially if they're able to keep the pressure up with the younger bodies. I think some of it was just luck of the draw the year before that was low pressure. But if they need to maintain that, and if they do, I think there will be more opportunities.
Yeah, especially from a guy like L'Jarius Sneed, who might be playing more on the outside this year. I don't, especially in those base sets, he's going to be on the outside. So he might have more opportunities to get those picks because otherwise playing in the slot, it's much harder. It's much harder to get those picks. It just is naturally.
Yeah, I'm with you. Who's the best player comp for Skyy? I'm struggling to think of someone who isn't Randall Cobb. It's pretty funny, Corbin. Did you have a comp for him coming out?
Well, I'm not I'm not really a comp guy. If you guys follow me, I'm not great at it. But in terms of what he does well, Julian Edelman makes some sense in terms of more of a short area guy who's going to get open quickly and not do a ton from a yak perspective in terms of electricity speed, more of a fight through contact kind of guy. I think Edelman was tough like that. Danny Amendola earlier in his career, guys kind of in that mold. I'm not great at this, so if I'm just completely wrong, just don't worry about it. It's just because I'm really bad at it.
I am classically not that great at it either, and I actually stay away from it for fear of like making connections. But I'll tell you this. The guy that he reminded me of coming out, and this is weird for Chiefs fans because Andre Rison was a vertical threat a lot more than Skyy Moore is, but the way that they move and shift their direction reminded me of each other. Again, not to put any kind of Andre Rison expectations on Skyy Moore, but there was that thread. He was the name that I was like, does he have some of his tendencies in my eval from him last year? No pressure, Skyy. Sorry, pal.
No.
Ryan White, I know I owe you an email. I did get to read it. I just haven't got around to getting back to you. I will. And Ryan, thank you for your support always. I think the defense will start faster than usual this year, and the young wide receivers will play better than people expect. I think we have a great chance to repeat. Any worry that if we do, Andy retires? Now, that's a great question.
That is the question of all questions, isn't it? I think no. I don't. Andy is having the best time of his coaching career right now. He feels he feels younger. He looks younger. Like he acts younger. He feels rejuvenated as a person, as a coach. I don't think he's retiring for a little while.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too, especially with Matt Nagy around. With EB on his trail that's going elsewhere, Matt Nagy could take on some of Andy's work, lighten his load a little bit, and keep him fresh. And I do think he trusts him to that point. So I could definitely see that. I will agree and say no, Ryan. But great question, and I will try to get back to you this week, buddy. Let's see, Gary, write it down. Is left tackle a priority in the 2024 draft?
What do I know? I thought it was this year. What do I know?
To me, it depends on George and Felix.
Okay, yeah.
That's the thing, because there's going to be pass rushers.
Absolutely.
So if they show signs of becoming what they expect them to become, then I think yes, it probably will be left tackle. Was just reported that Dalvin Cook wants to team up with D-Hop. Any chances we work them both in? I think it's within the realm of possibility. They just have to be willing to work their contracts together.
Yeah, right. Like if they want to play together, then they're going to have to take less money. Period. Plain and simple.
Yeah. You guys can share one bag. How you like that?
Yeah. And a ring, maybe. How about maybe make it better? A bag and a ring. How's it feel if you guys, for both of y'all?
Here, you can have the pendant part. Sam, thank you. What do you guys think are linebackers this year? Did you already speak on the Chiefs game? We did. But thanks, Sam. And I think Dan's pretty optimistic. I'm wondering if they're going to push the depth there and have to put it elsewhere. So can 4 linebackers man this defense this year? What do you think, Dan?
I think so. I think that it's also their best option because they don't need to have any more. Those 4 guys have all the roles kind of down pat, and I think that makes the most sense. So, and again, you also have corners that have some ability to play pseudo linebacker if you need them to. Like I think Chamar Connor could play like a dime backer. I really believe he could do it. And I think we know Brian Cook can do that and has no problems doing that. If somebody wants to come downhill anyway. So they have some other options if they need it.
Just a smidgen of control, Brian. That's all I'm asking. No more flags. Oh, thank you, Sam. And Red, who will get more of Juju's snaps this year? I think it'll split between Skyy and Juju. I think they want to not Skyy and Juju, Skyy and Kadarius. I think they want to feed them both.
Yeah, I think so too. But for me, it's mostly going to be Kadarius. He's playing more on the outside, and that's really where you saw, Juju have more of those snaps, and Skyy is going to be more in the slot. So I think it kind of separates. Kadarius is going to get the outside snaps from Juju. Skyy's going to get the inside snaps from Juju. This is kind of how it works right now.
And with that one, we'll finish up with Papa Bear. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there, and thanks for the comment, my friend, especially to my son who's proven himself to be a great father. Well, hey,
thank you.
Congrats, Dan. And we're going to let you go do that. So,
exactly,
folks, he's got dad duties to do. So do I. So thank you for your time tonight. Like, sub, hit that bell. Get the gear in the RGR store. We got the new Kelsey stuff if you want to get that.
Oh, man,
I got a couple new things coming too. So working on a few things. Thanks for being here today. Film comes out Wednesday, right, Dan?
Wednesday. Yep, that's right.
Gary's got his super analytical take tomorrow. Seth will be back on Thursday. You'll see us on Friday again. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you tomorrow.